Back to Washington now, where there are some new developments in the battle over whether to extend unemployment benefits into next year. Millions of jobless Americans have already collected nearly $450 billion in the last 4 years, and it would cost another $44 billion to keep that lifeline in place. Now, Republicans are demanding that spending cuts be attached to the extensions, but now House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi says she believes that's not necessary.
I think that we must pass the unemployment insurance. I do not think it should be paid for because it is, again, it is something that people that is paid into, and now we should for many reasons not pay for it.
Interesting, right? Christopher Hahn joins me now, former aide to Senator Chuck Schumer. Ford O'Connell is the former director for rural outreach for McCain's presidential campaign. Welcome, gentlemen. Good to have you here today. Chris, let me start with you. You know, I'm watching Nancy Pelosi in that soundbite, and my mind is rolling back to another Nancy Pelosi press conference where she came out and talked about pay-go. Remember pay-go? Everything was going to be paid for as we went along. What happened to that idea?
Well, you know, I think we're in a really deep hole right now, and a lot of Americans are having a hard time finding work. And if we cut off unemployment benefits, it'll have a negative impact on the economy, plain and simple. These people get these benefits and they spend it on necessities. They don't put it in the bank. They don't save it for a rainy day. They spend it now.
Yeah,
so
she also said at one point that it was
effect.
a stimulus for the economy. Remember that?
It absolutely is, Martha.
Well, that
it
may
is
be
a
the
stimulus
case,
for the
but
economy.
don't we live in a better place than that? I mean, can't we shoot a little bit higher than that? Ford O'Connell, can you get in on this?
Absolutely. Look, obviously, Minority Leader Pelosi's taking up residence at Disneyland because she's living a fantasy. We got to pay for it. We're $15 trillion in the hole. It's time to actually do it. Look, nobody's saying we should disparage the unemployed. All we're saying is we got to have sound government fiscal policy, and that means paying for unemployment benefits, whether through cuts or other items.
Yeah, I was very struck, Chris Hahn, back to you, when the president spoke in Kansas this week. And, you know, I went through the pages of the speech again after it was said. Nothing really in terms of specifics on cutting spending and cutting the debt. It feels like that conversation of cutting spending has disappeared from the dialogue on the Democrat side.
Well, Martha, clearly the president did speak about it. He talked about returning the tax code to some sanity like it was in the 90s under Clinton. Because if we got rid of the Bush tax cuts, we would eliminate most of the debt. It's that simple. And if we got people back to work, that would eliminate it even further.
That's not answering my question. We were talking about cutting spending and whether or not that was in there. Ford, you know, what about the Republican side of this? And why aren't we seeing, you know, a bigger effort at spending cuts? And, you know, can they win in this battle to try to make sure that if you're going to extend unemployment benefits, which everyone understands that, you know, may be necessary in these times, you just have to pay for them. That's all.
That's absolutely right. And I think both sides to some extent are playing politics with this issue, but the Republicans are right. Let's extend unemployment benefits, but let's pay for it. Because if we don't extend unemployment benefits, Chris's friends over there are going to be hitting my guys all the way to the ballot box until election 2012. So the deal is sound government spending policy.
Go ahead, Chris.
I think we're going to be hitting you all the way to the ballot box till 2012 anyway, Ford. That's our hopes. But I will tell you this right now. I'm more than willing to work out to pay for it. Let's just raise a little taxes on the wealthiest Americans to pay for it. Because there are a lot of people hurting, and these wealthy Americans have not created the jobs they promised us for those tax cuts.
That seems to be the solution for every single thing out there. You know, that if you increase the taxes on the wealthiest, it's going to solve, I guess, a $15 trillion debt and also extend unemployment benefits. Ford, is that going to work?
But this tax policy...
No, absolutely not. Until we fix the entitlements in the tax code, if we keep taxing the rich, we're going to be back at the same point 2 years from now because we've got a spending problem. Bottom line is the government in Washington and Congress have no idea how to manage a checkbook, and it's time to draw the line in the sand. And whatever we want to spend on, whether it's unemployment benefits or anything else, we have to pay for it, and that's the bottom line.
Maybe you guys can tell me, Chris, I heard you talk about tax reform, eliminating loopholes. The president talked about it as well the other day. This seems to me, and I can't figure this out, it seems to me to be something that both sides agree with. The Republicans want to, you know, level out the tax code and make because that is an increase in revenue right there. If you eliminate the loopholes, you will increase revenue. Both sides seem to agree on this. How come it never gets past that point of talking about it and saying, yeah, that's a good idea?
I think because everybody who's got a loophole has got somebody in Congress that wants to protect that loophole. One man's loophole is another man's vital benefit, unfortunately, in the tax code. Listen, bottom line is we've had this. Well, you know, we've had this tax policy with these major tax cuts for 12 years. It hasn't produced jobs. We've got to close loopholes. We've got to get more revenue into the economy.
We got to get a whole new tax code, Chris.
Well, I agree with you. Hey, listen, Ford, I'm with you, my friend. I think I am a Simpson Bowles supporter, and I think that if you and I were hammering this out, we'd get it done. Unfortunately, we don't stand for election. These guys do, and they've got constituents.
Ford McCarthy, Chris Hahn for Congress. Thanks, you guys. You guys are going to go out there and fix all the problems. It's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable. All the talk about these loopholes, and it just absolutely gets nowhere. Chris, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Ford, great to have you with us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You just brokered a deal.
I did. We we can have those two go, and they say they're willing to get that idea into action. Everyone else seems to agree. People send us tweets. Everybody seems to be on board with that idea, except the folks who can actually do something about it.